All right, welcome everyone. Good to see you all. It's me, got Mike Sheeler back. Mike, of course, is on mute. Mike, you got to come off mute, my man. Now Mike can't hear us. Oh boy. All right, we're going live. So what I'm going to do is we've got our first guest. I'm going to bring to the stage Emmett Cahill. You are also on mute, so make sure you come off. Emmett, wonderful to meet you, man. How are you? Emmett, can you hear me? We're having all kinds of trouble. Emmett, can you hear me?
I got you. Now I got you.
Right. Mike, you on? All right. This is like our constant joke now. We're 2 episodes in, Emmett, and like Mike is constantly, you can see the anger on his face already. He's already Emmett, wonderful to see you. Great to meet you, and thanks for coming on. You're our first guest on this podcast, and introduce yourself, man. I mean, I've got some notes on you, but tell me about you.
Yeah, no, I'm honored, man. I appreciate this. Being a Terp is a gigantic part of my life, and I really appreciate being on here. But yeah, a little bit about me is I'm from the Towson, Maryland area. Went to Loyola Blakefield. And then was a Terp from 2011 to 2014. So at the beginning of Coach Tillman's incredible run, and had an amazing time there. Was the best 4 years of my life. And it's being a Terp is very special to me. I appreciate it. You can tell from what's on my sleeve, man. I actually just got back from practice. I coach. So I'll skip right. I live in San Diego, California now. I've been out here for about 10 years. I'm in commercial real estate, and I love it. And I also coach a high school lacrosse team with another Terp, Kevin Cooper. Yep. So there's a bunch of us out here now. Brian Cooper, 2 of my brothers, Brian Cooper, Kevin Cooper. Scott Tompkins is also out here. He and I do a little coaching together. And Jay Carlson was out here for a long time. So we keep the Terp brotherhood rolling strong out on the West Coast. But yeah, man, it's amazing. Been out in San Diego for a while now. I appreciate this place very much, and I still carry my, being a Terp, and I try to bring that to my guys. Kevin and I coach at the Bishop School in La Jolla, and it's awesome, man. Keep the lacrosse, keep lacrosse going strong, and it's amazing, man. It's amazing out here, and I living in San Diego, being a Terp, staying tight with all these guys, and obviously staying close to the team and watching everything it's a huge part of my life. So I appreciate it all.
That's awesome. So the first question, you actually kind of alluded to something that I wanted to lead in with. You were not recruited by Coach Tillman, right?
I was not. No. So I was a Coach Dave Cottle recruit.
Yeah. So you come out of Loyola Blakefield, because we've been having this back and forth now about having, too many Loyola Dons. Mike wants more Calvert Hall guys.
Sure.
I'm a Gonzaga guy. I want more DC folks. But so what was that like? What was your recruiting process like? And then Coach Cottle leaves, Coach Tillman comes in. So that transition. So first, like, what was your recruiting process like? How'd you end up at Maryland? And then what was that change like?
Absolutely. I appreciate it. That's a great question. So I always knew I wanted to be a Terp, man. I just did. I had it. It was bred in me. My father was a Terp also, didn't play lacrosse, but he was a Terp himself. And I had, from Loyola, I had some other guys that I looked up to, some leaders, Joe Cummings and MJ Leonard. They were 2 guys I really looked up to. And, when I was a sophomore in 2008, they were seniors on the varsity team. And, I really liked those guys. We won the championship that year, beat Gilman, unreal year. But I really looked up to those 2 guys, and they were going off to Maryland. I always just appreciated the way the Terps play, and just toughness, grit, blue collar, and that's I value that, and those are things that I cherish in myself. So I just I thought it was a perfect fit, and I was looking around at other places, but I really always wanted to be a Terp, man. It was kind of instilled in me, and to this day, that's just, I bleed those colors, and that's just who I am.
So the transition, when Coach Tillman comes in to you were there because of the school and like, what'd you think of Tills?
I mean, he was an amazing dude, and is best coach I've ever played for. I appreciate that man very much. He did a lot of things for me personally in my life, on and off the field, that I'll never forget, and I sincerely appreciate that. But he was I think he was much different from Coach Cottle. I never gotten a chance to play for Coach Cottle either, but it was definitely seemed from the other guys, it was a different regime. But man, I loved Coach Cottle too. Had a great relationship with him, but I was I couldn't have been more proud to play for Coach Tillman. So I was thrilled that it ended up happening. He whooped my butt into shape real quick. I probably should have been a little bit more prepared coming in there. And those who know. But yeah, man, it was an amazing experience playing for Coach Tills, and I really appreciate him.
Emmett, I got to tell you, I remember when I first came into school, realizing like the whole lifting program and all that stuff. I remember walking in and seeing Mark and Mike White doing hang cleans like it was nothing, and I just knew the form of it all. I'm like, I'm supposed to know how this works as a 160.
Shields, I can't hear you, brother. Are you talking?
Can you hear me?
He's talking. He's a little. It's a little lighter.
Can you hear me? Hello.
We can hear you, Mike. You're just far away.
Can you hear him, Emmett? So
I can't hear him at all.
Oh man.
Well, I can hear you, Mike. Mike, I can hear you. This is going to become like the running gag. We're going to be in like season 5, right, and we're still going to keep doing this, just to keep everyone
the guest's house
totally on brand. Right. I know one of the questions Mike wanted to ask you about the was it the 2011 Final Four against Duke, and what that environment like. You're a freshman and you're coming into that environment at M&T Bank Stadium, 50,000 plus people, and like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was unbelievable. Just being from that area, being from Baltimore, and experiencing that. I mean, to this day, top 2 moment in my entire life and career. And I'm a Ravens fan. Tough year. Don't really want to talk about it, but every time I go to that stadium, I still, that is something that I remember and value every time. Just being like, wow, I got to play on that field with that team, and I wasn't a contributor and not, or even close to being one at that. It was a freshman. That team was unbelievable. 17 seniors, complete studs. The definition of Terps. Brian Farrell, Travis Reed, Burns, Brian Young, the list goes on. Brett Schmidt, the Schmidt brothers, incredible team all around. Just being a part of that was truly special, man. I remember running out of that tunnel in front of all those fans, and it was a Maryland heavy crowd. I'll tell you that. Nobody wanted those Blue Devils that night, baby.
I don't know if you can hear me now, but I remember getting to the edge of the tunnel and hearing all this booing, and I'm like, we're Maryland at Maryland. Why are people booing? We poke our head out, and it was because Duke was running out. And the funny thing was, most of Duke was made up of Baltimore kids, so they were getting booed by their home crowd essentially.
Wheels, I still can't hear him too well. If you're
all right,
I can hear him, Emmett. I'm not sure.
Okay,
but he's coming through.
Okay.
The lady with the headset told us, we had to run out in the middle of the booths, basically. And I remember everyone going, no, we're not doing that. They go, no, you have to go or you forfeit. And so we all ran out in the middle of the booths, and just the whole crowd shifted from booths to cheers and chaos from 56,000. I just got chills for like the 3rd time today thinking about that.
Emmett, I know the culture of Maryland, and to be the best culture, which I've told Mike this before. When I was in high school, I was going to the lacrosse camp that Dick Adele ran, right? Like, that whole be the best mentality from Buddy Beardmore, through Coach Tillman, means a lot to you all. And as you come to College Park, you're a freshman. Look, you're coming from a national high school power, at Loyola Blakefield, so you were used to playing at high levels where you were, and then all of a sudden you get to Maryland and you're immersed in this culture. What does that culture mean to you?
I mean, it means everything. I think being a Terp is like, it's all about the culture. I just think it's just different. And until you go there and you're around it and you're part of the team or around the team, you just don't really understand it. I think it's just bred into you early, and it's just like, hey, hop on the bus or get left behind. And it's just an amazing thing to be a part of. You know what I mean? I think the older guys the seniors, juniors, everybody does a really good job of really pouring all that into you as a young guy, and you just embrace it. And dude, I mean, I live my life like a Terp to this day in business, and I still play sports, man. I play basketball 4 to 5 days a week. I still play lacrosse. I'm in a men's league. We actually start up on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. And I carry myself as, what's up, Don? There's another Terp right there, another Don.
It's a surprise, right? Matt Dunn,
Yeah.
welcome to the episode 2 of season 1. Mike is still having technology issues.
It's insane.
Of course.
Can you hear me, Dunn? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sheila. Yeah.
All right. So it's actually.
Oh no, I can't hear Matt. Can you?
Oh, you can't hear Matt now? I mean, this is like a comedy.
Oh,
God. Now I think you're just messing with us, actually.
Emmett can hear me. He just can't.
I can hear you.
Huh.
I think it's the lacrosse. I think it's the actual Terp players don't want to talk to each other. So they're just letting me go. Welcome to Matt Dunn. All-American, current still defenseman for the PLL Whip Snakes, if I'm not mistaken. Matt, I was just asking Emmett about the Be the Best culture and what that culture means to you.
Yeah, it's well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm sorry if I messed up some technology on here.
No, it's been ongoing.
No, I took care of that on my own. Thank you.
All right. And I'm sad Emmett can't hear me. I love seeing Emmett. The Be the Best mentality. One, I think that program, the Maryland program, is so special, and I think that the word program is really important because it's much bigger than just the current team, and that's something that I always felt there was never just about us. It was about the culture that had been there for such a long time, and that Be the Best slogan, I think, is something that the program has really embodied. And being there with Coach Tills, he did such a great job of kind of shepherding that, and really what it, kind of was always portrayed as was, of course, we wanted to be the best team and win a championship, but really it was about being the best that we could be in everything we did. We sign off every practice with Be the Best, like people sign off emails with Be the Best, and it's something culturally that the program embodies, and it just starts at the top with Coach Tills and all the players just carry it through, whether it's the current players or the alum. So I think that mindset is something that really just like bleeds through with that program.
Emmett, can you hear everyone now?
I switched devices. I think I'm in. You guys got me?
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Let's go. What's up, boys?
All right.
It is.
I'm back.
Now we're
This
talking.
is just gonna seriously. I think every episode now we have to have some type of technology flaw, just about like how dumb we all are.
Hey, but we figure it out, dude. That's what being a Terp's all about. A little adversity.
Find a way or make a way.
Tony, Sheila, is there like a structure to this, or can I say something?
No, man. Let her rip. We do have some. We have a loose structure.
Depends on what you say. We'll cut you off if it's wrong.
Okay, this isn't live, right?
It is live.
All right, no tape delay. So in November, I got to play in the Loyola Blakefield alumni game with Emmett Cahill as the starting defensive line, along with AJ Larkin and Peter Lake.
Oh, Jesus.
We had 4 Terps out on the field.
That was special.
And let me tell you, Emmett still got it over the head in the first quarter, strip transition. It was awesome. And we got
sticks and passing lanes nonstop.
Passing lanes, all of it.
It never leaves. It never leaves you. Matt, you and Emmett overlapped at Loyola in high school, and then you were teammates. What, overlapped 2 years?
2 years. Yeah.
So you guys have known each other forever. How do you guys stay connected? Like, talk to us. Like the average fan, like me, how do you guys all maintain, Emmett talked about he's still coaching, Matt, you're still playing. You also do a lot of stuff. You're with the first class. You do a lot of stuff with first class as well. Mike still is connected to the game as well. How do you guys stay connected to each other?
Yeah.
For the record, I'm still playing in a men's league here, and they won't bump me up to the old guy league yet. So,
what a humble brag!
I'm just saying. I didn't say I was doing great, but I'm doing it. Before you say everyone else is playing, and I quit here. But go ahead, Dunn.
I'll take a quick stab, and then Emmett, you can chime in. I think it's like what we were talking about earlier, Tony. It's I don't talk to Emmett that much, but when I do, it's like no time has passed, and everybody just gets so busy. But I think it was just the experience that we had was so special at Maryland and for us in high school too. But just the culture, like what we did at Maryland was hard. Coach Tillman does not make it easy for you, and not everybody makes it through. And I think the guys that do and buy in, they become pretty close, and they're just really aligned from a value standpoint. And so you kind of know like character, values, all that. Like that person checks out, they're a person you respect, they're a person you like being around. And that's what the Maryland program generally produces is if you do well there and you make it through, you do so because you're the type of person that can. And so for us, it's just so awesome to see those guys. And Emmett and I obviously go further back. But staying connected is easy. We see each other. It's just like we never left.
I kind of continue that a little bit too, where it feels like there's plenty of guys that we didn't play with, but because they went through that same, gauntlet under Coach Tills, that we can pick up and be connected like it's nothing. Like I talked to a lot of guys we're currently playing, and it's as if we were playing together. I mean, there's a couple different plays that are still some similar to when we played, and there's still some certain things that get brought up consistently in film from when we did it. I know the Dartmouth film was a big one for us back in the day, but just the family throughout the generations, I guess 15, 16 years for Chills.
2011?
Yeah, 2011. So this is
carry them on. We weren't
year 15, including COVID. What about you, Emmett? How do you stay connected? I know you talked about you've got like a Southern California kind of hub of Terp players, but how do you keep connected to other people?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like going through, like kind of what Shield said, going through all that together. We just you have that camaraderie and brotherhood, and it's just an amazing freaking thing. You know what I mean? It's so rare to get through it all together, and doing that just kind of has that tie that binds you forever. But like Dunner too, like I was a senior at Loyola when Dunn was a sophomore, and we were, I loved him. I loved his class. They were great dudes, like super good players. And Dunner and I we were roommates on the road as Terps, baby, too. We had some, great times watching movies, like in, traveling and stuff. So I don't know, man. It's just it's a truly special bond. And Shields and I text every week about the team, and I'm close. Like my Cooper brothers they're my brothers. Jay Carlson. I love staying in touch, man. And it's just easy being a Terp, and it's just smooth, So I really appreciate this camaraderie and this brotherhood.
Yeah, I think Matt nailed it. Whereas that we could pick up as if no time's passed whatsoever. I mean, I was out in Dallas for work, and we caught up, had dinner. It was like we finished practice 2 hours earlier, pretty much.
Well, Emmett, you might have given us a little bit of a segue here into kind of our next kind of talking point here around what happened. Let's talk about the Syracuse game, right? And I got to be careful here. I'm with three guys who really know the game, so I'm gonna be following you all on this. But let's go around the room, Mike. Like we'll go you, we'll go Emmett, we'll go Matt.
Yeah.
Like what do you think? What was your take on what happened in that game?
Ground balls. I think a lot of other stuff. There's different areas that we didn't execute, but it's also early February. You don't win a national championship in February. But the ground ball difference being 14 ground balls is you can't overcome that, right? I mean, we in the Final Four game against them, we actually lost the ground ball battle by 4, but we still won by 6. So, losing the ground balls by 14, if we cut that in half, we could potentially say it's a tie ball game. But I mean, the environment, also what we're going into, we've held this team winless against us 8-0 over 16 years, and Syracuse not a easy program, right? The only other time a program has beat Syracuse for 8 or more times consecutively was Hopkins did it 9 times starting in 1930. So like this doesn't happen for what we
Emmett,
just
what was your take?
did.
What was your take, Emmett, on the game?
Yeah, I just think we never really settled in. Like I feel like the Terps, we kind of control the game, most of the games that we're used to, and I just feel like that never really happened. And I feel like we were it made us rush a little bit. And I just think, Coach Tills is such a mastermind when controlling the rock and just the outcome of the game. And I feel like we never really settled in. But it's all right, man. I'm not worried about it. It's February. Look, I'm super stoked about this team. I think they got studs and dogs all over the field, dude. I I couldn't be
Absolutely.
more pumped about them. I'm not really, congrats to Syracuse, right? Good, great team. There's another Loyola guy, Billy Dwan, who played with us too in the alumni. He's a great player. So kudos to those guys. But I think this Maryland team is special, man. I'm super stoked about them. Larkin, we got studs all over the field. So I'm super pumped. It was just one of those games, man. It happens, just got to bounce back.
Matt, what about
I'm
you?
really excited for Matt because Matt does his breakdown.
I know,
right here. So now,
what would you
went last?
What was your take, Matt?
What was the right take? Excuse me.
I'm going to disappoint you guys. I think you guys hit it. And I think the challenge of being Maryland is the expectations that are set, and they're pretty unrealistic in general. Like, Syracuse is really freaking good. You look at that lineup, they are really good. And the pressure, and I think this is Tillis does such a good job with this and get kind of that 0-0 mindset that it's about this one, forget everything else. But the pressure around Syracuse, that's an easy game to go into. And we're going to lose again. They're all fired up. Maryland, we got to keep this fake streak going. And I think one thing that is hard to put value on is you watched the game last year and early in the season, and that's a game that, a lot of people probably thought Syracuse was going to win, and they didn't. Super talented lineup. And Logan McNaney was just so excellent. And having that guy at Maryland for so long, I think for all of us set unrealistic expectations of the shots you can give up against teams like this. And I saw in the PLL this summer, we couldn't score and catch everything. And Rupel did a great job, and he's a great goalie. But we just have to recalibrate to, normal expectations. We lost to.
Well, it's game 2, right? We think about the string of goalies we've had with McNaney. You've had Bernlor, Nico Phipps. We've had insane goalies that we have this expectation of being so good with that. And this is game 2, more or less.
You lose a close game to Syracuse, who is any given poll Maryland in a super talented lineup.
So I got three close defensemen here that I'm talking to, and so I got a pretty specific question, kind of about that defensive, about what Maryland was doing on defense, and then I got one later about what Syracuse was doing. But I'm curious to get your take. First half, Syracuse is inverting Hoddle. They're trying to run him off of picks. Spalina's setting the pick, so they're putting Schaller in that kind of position to, am I going to switch off a Spalina to a shorty? Second half, it looks like Jesse makes an adjustment, and Schaller is hedging real hard to slow Hoddle down. Totally takes Hoddle out of the game. When you go into a game, second game of the season for Maryland, third for Syracuse, there's not a ton of tape out there. Syracuse obviously is throwing wrinkles on offense. But that adjustment happens at halftime. What goes on prior to that adjustment? You guys have been on the field and you've been in these big games. Everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face, right? So what happens until that halftime adjustment where Hoddle's just killing Maryland in the invert?
I felt like it's a little bit of looking at who we want our matchups to be and who the priority matchups are, right? Because obviously we want Schaller on Spalina. And from what it seemed to me, by him not hedging the pick, because Spalina was doing the pick to create leverage for himself, right? It wasn't to help Hoddle, but it wasn't supposed to be more of that type of setup. So if we try to hedge it and do it wrong, we give Spalina action where he's not dodging well against us, and we give him, a couple steps on us because we do it the wrong way, which is I think why we came out that way and tried to stay with it. But obviously seeing what Hoddle was doing, because they only scored on one of those picks. The other was just a straight speed dodge past.
He got an assist. He got an assist in the crease on another.
Well, yeah, we got back cut, got caught ball watching a couple times too. That it doesn't matter how you do on picks if you get caught ball watching, and they're good at taking advantage of that stuff.
Yeah, I think I have all the faith in Jesse. Jesse was one of the greatest players I've ever been around. Unbelievable coach. I have all the trust in our coaching staff. I just think 27 is the best defenseman in the country. Love watching that guy. He's an absolute dog. Love what he does on and off the field. Just a leader. I think on a couple plays I just noticed on picks we got a little caught up in picks sometime and didn't switch when we on contact. and I think that led to a few goals. But look, man, it's early in the season. Our shorties are complete dogs. I love 8, love 54, love all those guys. 6, I think they're going to be fine, man. I have all the faith in them. It's early on in the season, dude. Those guys will be great. I think we're going to bounce back, man. I have all the faith in the world in those guys, man. I'm already pumped to watch the next one, dude.
Yeah, totally. And I think just to that earlier point, lacrosse is more matchup oriented than ever now that it's less pattern. It's a lot of principles based, but it's really about getting your player. Like any offense is going to try to get their best players in the right scenario with the right matchup, and that's where picks come into play. And it becomes a game. And Maryland's a very matchup oriented defense because you got guys like Will Schaller, and you want 27, like Emmett said, you want him covering Joey Spallina. Like that is in your game plan, and if you don't have that, your game plan looks a little different. So I just think becomes this kind of cool chess match of like, how does Syracuse get? They don't want Spallina to dodge Schaller all game. That's not. Spallina's a great player, Schaller's a great defender. It's just not the best advantage for them. So you get this like chess match of how do you get Schaller off Spallina, put him in uncomfortable spots, and then Jesse and Coach Tills are thinking about that, and they're like, well, how do we navigate that? And I think the cool part about all this is if they play again later in the season, like you're going to see the layers of that come out, and both teams are just going to get so much better at it. And like,
how hard is it to adjust in game? Like it was pretty clear 2 areas the Terps made halftime adjustments. One was at the face-off, right? The other was how they were playing that kind of Syracuse invert game. How hard is it to make that move in the flow of the game as opposed to, all right, halftime, we got our TV screens in, we can upload some clips, right? How hard is it to do that in game?
It depends on your personnel and your foundation. If you have veteran guys that get it and are well trained from multiple fall balls, and you've stacked these things and you have common language and they comprehend concepts, the kids will come off, the players at Maryland will come off the field and go like, hey, they're adjusting the pick like this, they're sending it more on this spot of the field, they're tipping, I think we could do this. And I think what Maryland has built, because of how well coached they are throughout the year and how prepared they are, it gives them foundation and back pocket plans because they speak the same language and they get it. These guys are so well trained in the position in the game that I think they're able to do it. If you have a lot of freshmen out there, a lot of new guys, it probably gets a lot harder.
Yeah. So I wanted you guys to put your hat on. Like someone in the comments was like, "I'm the only one not wearing a hat." I need a better hat game. But I want you guys to put a different hat on now because you guys have all been involved in the game. You've been involved in coaching. You've had to deal with more than just defense. Flip fields now about how Syracuse defended the Terps. Maryland gets 2 assisted goals. That's not really Maryland's offense, right? They turned Maryland into, we're going to take away your assist game. We're going to make you beat us one-on-one. And we're not going to slide. Like you guys got to earn the slides. How does Maryland attack that kind of defense?
Dude, I'll just start off. I was impressed with Cuse's defense. I think they played very tough, and I think they were making those tough plays too. Like they were laying out. Obviously, the Terps do that too. We're always diving around. I love that stuff. Getting those end line GBs. But I was impressed with the way Cuse played D. I think they played tough, and you got to give credit to those guys, man. They were sliding around. They were doubling. They were they saw the back. They were sliding. So I was impressed with that. And
they played a lot of high energy out of that defense in that game. If you look at the other 2 games previously and even the Final Four game, it didn't compare to how much energy it seemed like they were playing with. But yeah, we got to beat a matchup at a certain point. If they're not going to slide, we got to punish them for it. But a lot of things we weren't doing too, which has always usually helped us, is that off-ball movement. I didn't feel like that was happening nearly as much. Maybe just our angle on TV, but I felt like that was hurting a little bit too because that distracts some of the other guys on defense there.
Yeah, and I think echoing both those points, it was a good defense. I mean, Billy Dwan and Riley Figueres are both going to be PLL defenders. Like they have good players. Coach O'Darren has done a nice job there. Those kids are balled in. They're fired up. And I think that's kind of been like the scout on Maryland. Maryland has great players, but since that 22 team was just so excellent. But
yeah,
for a while they've made a living not on having like a Super Bowl dominant guy. They run incredible team offense. They They're patient. They really probe for high quality shots. And if you start being sloppy off the ball and going too frequently, like they're going to put you in a blender. And so really the game plan kind of needs to be try to beat them up a little bit and try to not slide. See if you can challenge that. And I think that has to be the game plan against them to a degree right now. And you need the guys to do it. And so to counter, like some of those guys, I bet the challenge in the film room, my guess, I'm not there, so I hate speaking on their behalf, but it's probably something like, hey, this is what they did, like challenge, like who can win their matchup, who can put pressure on the defense. And that I bet there was, a bit of a challenge thrown out.
It looked like in the second half that Urksa became that guy, right? 12 shots at halftime for the Terps. Real limited transition again, even though this is a team that looks a little more like 22, where you can kind of get up and down the field the way the 22 team did.
The tricky thing with that in that game especially is making sure everybody gets a chance to rest, right? It was so many long possessions that if you force transition, turn the ball over, and all of a sudden you're back on defense for another 60 seconds or longer, you're going to drain your guys. So
it's pretty clear that there was a turnover in transition, and Spallina gets his first goal kind of on that unsettled, of people are subbing, and that was it for Maryland running. Like that was it for the rest of the game. So that game, tough loss for Maryland, but I agree with you guys. Like it's February, right? I angered a lot of Syracuse fans on another podcast that I was on post game, where I was like, boy, they really celebrated like they had just won in May, and like don't think that's not going to come back. So I'll probably get more people mad at me. Mike and I last week we do a little pick'em game. Mike and I last week we picked 3 games, so you get to hear us kind of laugh a little bit. I'm going to hold off on that Princeton Penn State game. Mike and I talked a little about that, but I'd love to talk a little more about that as we kind of look ahead to Princeton next week. Mike and I both thought Loyola would cover a 4.5 goal spread against Hopkins. Like that did not happen. I don't know if anyone saw that game or not. Looked a lot like the first half of the Maryland game where it's close for Loyola, and then Hopkins just
I saw more highlights of Pat Spencer was at that game than I actually did of the game itself. I don't know if you guys know, but he played lacrosse.
I wonder what position he'd play if he played lacrosse.
Dude, kudos to him though, man. He's getting some buckets. I love it. You got to
talking trash. That. I love it.
Yeah.
What an athlete! What an athlete!
That's MIAA
also, I do want
product.
to say real quick is about how stoked I am about our Maryland squad this year, though, man. I love 26 and 52 in the middle of the field is such a thing of beauty.
Yes.
And those D guys, 27. I love it, man. I think, gosh, Larkin has the opportunity to be. I think he's the best long stick in the country by far. The dude is just a menace out there. And then 52.
We just got to get Larkin and Owens need to get some white cleats, and otherwise they are absolutely.
I kind of like their swagger, dude. They look good. They look good out there.
I don't know. They got to do either black socks or do the white laces like the U.S.
No,
I texted AJ that earlier. You got to figure that out.
I think the young kids. I think the black cleats are a thing this year because it looks like it's going around a little bit in the rest of the college landscape. When you get a guy like Goldstein up at Cornell, who's like quicker than a hiccup, and he's wearing black shoes, you're like, oh, this is a thing.
We're the standard. We set the standard here, right? We're not doing what Goldstein's doing. We're doing what the Terps are doing.
Did any of the 3 of you catch the UVA Richmond game? Wouldn't mind hearing anyone's thoughts on that.
I did not.
Richmond's good.
It was 18-12. I think Richmond scored on half of their offensive possessions. I'm talking to 3 defensemen. Does UVA have a defense issue? Is there a defensive issue down in Charlottesville?
Ideally, you want to hold a team to under 10 or 8 is kind of the perfect situation. So 18 is not what you want to be doing as a defense. I didn't watch it too thoroughly, but I don't think you want to give up 18.
Boy.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it. My brother played at Richmond, and they've had Coach Shamati's been there for a while, Coach Richards the whole time. Well, I am pretty familiar with that program, and I just think so highly of that coaching staff, and what they've done there. And I just know those guys. They have a talented group this year. I think Hunter Smith defensively for Richmond, I think, is one of the best defenders in the country. Aiden O'Neal on offense is an incredible. I was so impressed by him in the Maryland game last year. I didn't know who he was at that point, and I saw him score an unassisted goal, and I was incredibly impressed. I don't know Virginia's situation right now. It seems like maybe the goal is an area they're trying to figure out a bit. And I think in today's game, if you're not strong in the goal, like in the shot clock era with how talented players are, like you're just solving for what shots will you give up and are they shots your goalie can save? And I think that seems like an area they're trying to figure out. I know last year for Virginia was a struggle there.
And Dunn, I'm curious your thoughts on this too. For putting our shoes in the Virginia coach's perspective, changing the goalie so quick and so often probably doesn't help mentally either for having your guy turn it around. But, as a Maryland fan, I'm not too upset with how that goes down. But I got to imagine that's not helping your cause either in that process.
Anybody that's been on, all of us that have been on teams and anybody that's coached, how the goalie situation is complicated and it's touchy because there's a world where, you want to give a guy confidence, but there's also a world where you want to inspire competition. And if you're actually not sure, you kind of want to see if somebody's going to earn the job. So the goalie room, you need a goalie whisperer.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because they started the Air Force transfer in goal and then they lifted him and they brought in the guy that finished up last year. And he got shelled too. So like both goalies got beat up pretty badly. And it's something, they're on the schedule in 3 weeks. It's going to be interesting to see. Their offense looks pretty top heavy, like 4 or 5 guys doing a ton of damage. And then not much looks like happening kind of below there. They seem to never have a second midfield anymore. And it seems like their defensive midfield, like serious issues in their defensive midfield. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they evolve the next couple weeks before they come in to CQ Stadium. I want to transition into previewing next week against Princeton. But first, did any of the three of you see any of the Princeton? Since Maryland played Friday, I was flipping around ESPN Plus, flipping around games. I watched almost all of the Princeton Penn State game. Penn State's coming off a loss in overtime against Villanova. They go on the road. They're a 4.5 goal favorite, 4.5 goal underdog on the road at Princeton. Princeton's playing the first game. It's 7-1 at the end of the first quarter. Penn State. Princeton hops into a zone for pretty much 3/4 of the game to just slow it down and stem the tide. They end up losing 13-7. Did any of you get a chance to watch or get a sense of what's going on in that game?
I did because I knew you'd bring it up. But
go ahead, Shar.
No, I get to do this each week. You go.
I coach high school lacrosse, and we had 2 games this weekend, and so we played Saturday and Sunday. So I caught highlights. I know Princeton pretty well from last year. I know the staff. I know they ran that zone a lot last year, and I think it worked pretty well for them. Penn State was running that zone last year. I think zone is an interesting thing, and like we talked about, where lacrosse offensively has become so principles-based. Teams used to be able to scout patterns defensively, and you would kind of know the motions teams ran. Now that they don't run it as much, it's hard to impose your will defensively on offenses these days. Zone is one of the few ways to do it, where if you run a good zone all week, the offense is going to might change what they're doing to focus on you. So not directly to this game, but I think that is a meta theme you're seeing a little bit in college lacrosse, where teams are looking at zone opportunistically a little bit more as a way to actually dictate to an offense a bit and not let them do what they're just going to do no matter what.
Emmett, would you ever get your high school team that you coach in the zone?
Absolutely, man. We're at a school called Bishops in San Diego, and we're small, right? It's still growing out here on the West Coast, so we don't have a ton of guys. And honestly, this year our polls are nasty. We got 3 guys that are One's going to Army, one's going to Penn, one's going to Utah, and they're all offensive threats too, which I love because that was kind of my game in high school, like trying to get buckets and stay on the field on offense, and love that. So yeah, I mean, I think in order to kind of help them and like conserve energy, I think sometimes you gotta be strategic about it and do what works, right? And just get some sticks up in the passing lane and get some nuggets, man. Knock some passes down and get some pick sixes like Ed Reed.
I mean, I agree with you guys. I just don't like watching it personally. I don't like playing it personally, but it makes sense because at the end of the day, these coaches are trying to make sure they win the game, not make sure the fans have the most fun game possible. Put banners in the stadiums for having the most entertaining offense, right?
It was a bit of a surrender cobra, though, right? Like it's 7-1 after a quarter.
But look at what happened. Is it was a tie the rest of the game. It worked. And they would only switch out of it when there was a timeout or something like that because Penn State would be coming out expecting a zone and all of a sudden they're man again. And they got to completely change and waste everything they just talked about in that timeout.
So I got 3 long polls on here. That Princeton attack unit, you got Nate Kabiri, who's really a slick player, good size, good dodger. Colin Burns, his high school teammate at Georgetown Prep, kind of your traditional kind of crease attackman. He's going to find cracks and spaces, but he's athletic enough that if you really short him, he could dodge, a shorty. Not too difficult for him to do. And then they drop Peter Buonanno, was a midfielder, Ivy League freshman of the year last year. They drop him from midfield down to attack where Coulter Mackesy had played. So you got 3 really, really good, highly complementary attack pieces. How do you see Maryland defending that? Do you think we see Schaller going to Kabiri? What do you think you short? Do you short Burns and then send 2 poles up to that midfield because they got Chad Palumbo and they got Tucker Wade, who's a phenomenal athlete? How would you guys, as defenders, how would you think about matching up with that attack unit?
My gut says you see Schaller and Kabiri. I think Nate's I think he's an exceptional player. And it's also like I don't buy into this too much, but it is the righty on lefty. And I think with how quick Nate's able to kind of split and roll and get back to that right, you like that stick up field a little more there. That would be my gut. I don't think off the bat you'll see the double, that you'll see the short down low. I haven't seen Maryland do it that much. And I think they prefer, it seems like Jesse prefers to then just have a game plan around how to slide to guys rather than start to bump poles all over the place. But you never know. That would be my guess. And then maybe Peter Lake on Peter Bonanno over there, righty on lefty, and Pete seems to be drawing some of those 2 guys a little bit more and done a nice job. So that would be my guess, but Jesse knows 100 times more than I do, and they're with those guys every day, so he'll have it figured out.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the Princeton guys. I remember watching last year; they could sling it, and they were fun to watch. So, but I'm sure Jesse will have the boys ready to slide and get after it out there, man. I'm pumped for it. Pumped to see the Terps get after it again.
I feel like it's kind of also tough of what they just came off of in that Penn State game, where that didn't look very characteristic of what they're actually going to be when they show up next week, right? Because they're a week and a half into practice for them for the spring, right? Because Ivy start February 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were turning the ball over a little bit more sloppy. That just felt like they had to kind of get their groove going. And that's not how they're going to be next week. And I think it's a bit ridiculous in the rankings where they drop from 3rd to like 13th after. That's truly absurd.
Rankings are ridiculous, dude. I think this whole ranking thing is just wild, man. Like it means nothing.
The rankings and the in-game coach interviews need to just be gone. I can't stand those in-game coach interviews either while we're at it, but
wait, I'm the old guy here. Mike is like shaking his fist, like, yelling at the kids.
I mean, neither of the coaches look excited during that. They aren't going to tell you anything ever. You're just
hold on, Mike. I do want to remind everyone. Last year in the Final Four, when they interviewed Tills mid-game, and he's like, Syracuse jumped into a zone. Like, if they want to do that, we're just going to grind the game down. And like the ESPN guys were like, yeah, I mean, they're just going to grind the game down if they just keep sitting in the zone. Like so every now and then the coaches do slip up and say something. I wouldn't have put money on Till slipping up, but
You're right.
you know, quick question too about the face-off game. Princeton returns a guy, Andrew McMeekin. He's another Georgetown prep kid. Really, really good face-off guy. But again, he got kind of dominated last week against Penn State's face-off duo. Henry Dodge has played him before. Maryland's Jonah Carrier has not had any reps against McMeekin. How do you coach that position up? You know, we got a couple guys on here who coach. How do you handle that face-off unit?
I really like 40, man. I don't know a ton about him. I've been impressed with him. His size, he's a big boy. I like, and having a 1-2 punch with him in 28. I feel like 28's kind of he's a smooth operator out there, right? Like he's got some good moves. 40's more of like the, I'm going to knock you down and pick up this rock and go with it. So I think having a two-headed monster like that is amazing for us. You know what I mean? But I've always, I feel like having good aggressive wings has always been an important part of being a Terp. So I think if we get the ball out in open space and make it a 3-on-3 matchup, we're going to come away with that. We're just, we got dogs in the middle of the field. I think that's important. That's tough ground balls, baby. It's always been an important thing for Maryland.
And we're working on ground balls this week for sure. But yeah, the 3-on-3 ground ball piece. But your question specifically of how do you coach up the faceoff guys? I think it's like a 1A, 1B kind of thing with the goalies almost. I don't know. Those guys kind of almost feel like the kickers at a certain point where they're off to the side. Not calling them kickers here, but they're all off to the side. They're so specialized and so good at what they do that I don't get it, but they do really good at it.
How do you coach that up, Matt?
Well, they have Coach Obransky there, who I think
you almost kind of rolled your eyes when I was like, Matt, how do you coach up the face-off guys?
Well,
you're like,
I already took the easy out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll say, look, they have Coach Obransky. Most teams have a face-off specialist on staff because, to the point Sheeler just made, they're not kickers. It's not quite that, but they are considered specialist positions for a reason. Like those guys, they do what they do really well, and so Obransky will do a great job with them actually dialing in. They're going to watch a ton of film and all that. What Coach Tills does such a good job of, he pieces it all together and makes sure that the face-off strategy fits the game flow strategy and that the wings, they'll figure out how they want the wings to play based off, they think, the likelihood of them winning the face-offs and how that ties into the way they're going to basically play the whole game. And so at the end of the day, it does come down to grinding out like the win at the X, who gets the ball, but they're going to neutralize any advantage. And probably if they don't think they're going to win, they're going to have a plan to take away transition. If they don't think they're going to win face-offs, they're going to change the way they probably operate into the shot clock to a degree and maybe other things along those lines. So while I can't speak to the actual, whether somebody's going to like reverse clamp or pivot or plunger or whatever these days, I do think they'll be dialed in, and Maryland's wing play, I think, has been excellent, and they've always prided themselves in the ability to, hopefully win those 50-50 ground balls.
We never make anyone pick games. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I think we also need to give a quick shout out to other coaches being, I think, elite at in-game adjustments on all sides of the ball, all aspects of it. Obransky, obviously, with the face-off, like we said, turned around big time in the game. Bernhardt, obviously, Tills, Phipps, everybody. Also, Tillman's timeout ability, calling timeout abilities, second to none. We got to give that quick shout out there. He had a couple pretty solid ones in the Cuse game. I just don't want that to be overshadowed here.
So we never make you all. Mike and I don't actually pick. We don't give a score prediction or anything for the Maryland game. But if Emmett and Matt, if you could, prognosticate a little about how you think the game might play out on Saturday.
I mean, I think this is a big game, right? Like these are two very, very good teams still early on in the season, but I think for both of them, a W is pretty important right now. I don't think we want to go 1-2. I don't think they want to go 0-2. But I think the boys will be ready, right? I know you got to always respect your opponent. I think Princeton is dialed. They're I haven't watched them a ton, but they've been great. They got some young studs, and you got to respect them. They're a storied program, and you always got to respect your opponent. But I think our boys will come on. I hope so. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a great game, but I want the Terps to come out ready and ready to get some tough GBs, man. I think we got to focus on GBs and getting back to our roots and playing gritty and just playing some blue collar lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, the ranking stuff is silly at this point of the year, and I think any good coach is going to make sure their team isn't following that stuff. But these games do matter down the street. You get to tournament time, like these games, they matter. And I think both teams are in an interesting position where like this Princeton team, highly talented, dropped a tough one in their first game. Maryland is culturally used to just having a hard schedule and running through it well off the start. And it looks like that to people on the outside, but they have success because internally they operate such a disciplined playbook to get there. And Princeton's no different. Like Princeton has just like Syracuse has Maryland's number. I don't know the stats, but like Princeton is like, if you ask somebody like that, we can't figure out the Terps, and if you like track through. And so I think the energy from them coming into this game and then Maryland bouncing off a loss to Syracuse, like these teams are going to be preparing this week, and there's going to be an energy going into this game about like how much this one matters for both of them. And I think it will say a lot about both teams and the core groups of like resilience in like early season adversity from the kids don't actually know right now. Princeton doesn't know that they're not going to go 500 this year. They just lost their first game by 7. Maryland doesn't know that they're not going to drop the next 3. They play a really hard schedule. So there's like weight on this game. And so I think it's going to show a lot about the character of the teams.
Mike, what do you think? And Mike, we have a new nickname for you, apparently.
All right. Earned, not given.
So Mike, what do you think? Your kind of general prognostication around what to expect?
I think it's going to be a very good, like the other guys kind of said it here too, is going to be a high energy game where it means a lot to everybody. It's not going to be what a number 2 versus 13 ranked game would sound like. I think it's going to have that same feel as it did in the Dome a little bit. And I think realistically, somebody kind of mentioned it earlier, is you get punched in the mouth, what happens next? And both teams are going to punch each other in the mouth, and who reacts next the right way, who handles it the best way and attacks afterwards. That's going to be a big differentiator, I think, not just Saturday, but down the road.
It's kind of crazy because, 1 versus 2 last week. If Maryland and Princeton had won last week, it would have been a second week of 1 versus 2. Just insane schedules that these teams play. I mean, it's really a testament, though. I think
then Princeton plays Cuse next week after that too. Just as if we all didn't want to play the toughest schedules possible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
Hats
awesome.
off to them. Yeah,
it's awesome. I love it
because it's unlike other sports,
baby.
Yeah, I love it. It's just, they're just getting right into it. That schedule is heavy hitters,
and it's unlike other sports where in college sports, like you're gonna have like your early season cupcakes in September for a football team, or your December schedule for a basketball team, where you're just beating up on little sisters of the poor in lacrosse. These top teams are just every week. They're just heavyweights playing it. It is fun for the sport in general.
Well, and the sport growing, like a Richmond, for example, and there's more teams like that. The teams that aren't the classic blue bloods are getting good too. Like those aren't easy matchups anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. All right. So our last little segment here, and I will expect picks on this. like I can enforce it, like that's it, guys. All right. Your buddies from up the street at Homewood heading down to North Carolina. Carolina is a 2.5 goal favorite. We're going to keep score. Next week, we're going to report back who you guys got. Let's go around the room. What do you think, Emmett? We'll start with you.
Man, I'm not into. I don't know too much about all this.
I just got
feeling. It's not
that,
real
man.
money.
But
I
think
real
what
money.
do you think? 2.5 goals. Hopkins 2.5 goal underdog at UNC. What's your gut tell you?
Like for me, man, I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. But I respect all opponents. I think everybody's great. I'm not into this talking shit before the games, all that stuff. So I respect everybody. But I don't know. I've heard that I've always respect Carolina and Hopkins. But I've heard that Carolina is going to have a good year. One of my best friends, Patrick Foster, went there, so I'm going to give them the nod on this
There
one.
you go.
Yeah.
What do you think, Matt?
I like the Michael Scott quote from Emmett Cahill there. Little stitches. Echo all of that. I don't pretend to know what I'm talking about. I'll probably be wrong. I think that UNC team's really talented. I haven't seen enough of them. I think they probably need to figure out a little bit of identity this year, but I think the talent on that roster is pretty impressive, and at Carolina going to be hard to beat. Also coming off a tough game, a close one with Jacksonville last weekend, I believe. So I imagine, like anybody, I imagine the coaches had their attention this week, and we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting because then UNC played, and I follow these scores more because I know this is coming question-wise, so it's a little bit easier for me here. But they played Iona, I think, on Sunday or Monday, and they beat them like 20-2. So they go from one game where they seem to struggle with scoring, and the next game have no issues. So I'm going to go with UNC, partly because I would rather see UNC win than Hopkins personally, but and the drive maybe, but over under 23.5.
Emmett and Matt, don't think that this pick segment was my idea. Mike,
Yes.
coming in.
There is warnings to not to use our advice.
Mike is like, we got to have some fun. This is a Sheeler.
No, I love it, man. Keep it interesting, baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. I didn't see much. My son goes to Loyola, so I try and watch a little bit of it. Their face-off guy got hurt. It was a big question mark anyway. He may not play, and UNC's got that Wombat kid who just is he's just like a machine at the face-off. And games on grass. Hopkins always playing on turf. I mean, I'm sure they're going to practice on grass, but I think there is a little bit of a difference there, especially early. Slipping and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think on the road, I think UNC is going to get the ball too much, and I think they just have too much firepower. So I think UNC is going to cover. All right. Cornell is a 2.5 goal favorite on the road at Denver. We'll start with Mike. We'll get Mike on.
I think that probably going with Cornell here. The travel is the only thing I think would be interesting for that part. But I guess, I'll go with Cornell minus 2.5 there. I'm running with that one.
I'll say you got to respect Cornell, man. What a great year they had last year. Heck of a team. All the respect in the world to them. I think when Denver is good, it's good for the game. I think they have a cool, creative flair to the way they play, and I appreciate that team. I think it's they're when they're slinging the rock around, and I think lacrosse is better when they're doing well. So I don't really have a dog in that fight, but I think lacrosse is a better sport when they're doing well.
That's Emmett saying Denver with the cover.
Well, Cornell 2.5.
Yeah. I mean, they barely escaped Albany.
But again, because Ivy starts so late, so you didn't have much. I would say the only factor is the travel with the short.
Denver's really hard to get a read on. They play a different style of lacrosse. Some teams can handle it well, and some teams really struggle because it's not the way the defense Cornell sees in practice every day is not the defense Denver plays, and a little bit similarly on offense. I think Cornell reigning national champions. They graduate some important pieces, but they have pieces there. They have a strong culture. I'm going to lean Cornell, but you never count Denver out, and Denver is the team that they can kind of be kind of blending in, and then one of the best teams plays them and they lose by 8 to Denver. That's what Denver's always capable of.
I think Denver's going to win. I think they're going to outright win. I saw the Maryland Cornell scrimmage at Sally's in Wilmington this past fall, and I'm not going to talk about scrimmaging matters here. the thing that stood out most to me, seeing Maryland on the same field as Cornell, when Cornell had their second midfield line in, it was like a bunch of 5'7" guys playing against, Maryland's defense. I do think over time, it may not be this week, but I think over time, Goldstein they list him at 5'7", $135. Like Willem Firth is like 5'8", like 150. They don't have CJ Kirst anymore. They don't have Kelleher anymore that are absorbing all of this physicality that allowed these other guys to play in space. I think at some point, just the size and just wearing down, I think is going to happen. And Matt, what you said, and you too, Emmett, like Denver just plays a little funky. They just play kind of strange. I think Denver is going to win that game. Cover it, but and win. All right, last game. Notre Dame at home, giving a goal and a half to Georgetown.
So Notre Dame. Go ahead. Notre Dame, just to help your decision making here. Notre Dame just won today against Bellarmine at home, 29-10.
Oh wow!
I think they covered.
Maybe not.
That unfortunately doesn't help me all that much in this decision.
Yeah,
and now you know that.
I'll say I love Coach Warren. Coach Warren is a complete savage. He was our coach for 2 seasons at Maryland, and I have all the respect in the world for that guy. So I always, ton of respect for Notre Dame as well, man. They've been a heck of a program for a few years now, winning 2 in a row. They're doing great, but I really love Coach Warren. I'm going to go with him on this one, man. Hope he brings home the dub.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, same. They did it, I guess, was it 2 years ago, Georgetown beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame? And not to put the past onto this, but I think, Georgetown's got a really good team this year. Notre Dame does too. So I think the obvious answer would maybe be Notre Dame, just because you almost always would pick Notre Dame in any game the last 3 or 4 years as a betting person. But I think Coach Warren's an excellent coach. That Georgetown stat, like Coach Hogan does a great job too. Great staff there. They're a talented group. And I'm going to go with Coach Warren.
I'm going to do the same. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on this. With Notre Dame having a midweek game, does that impact their game against Georgetown at all from recovery?
Did they really have a midweek game?
Yeah, you can see all the confidence I have in the question, because it was 10-0 in the first quarter, so I'm not sure how long they played, but and any others, so Harvard playing Syracuse this weekend, they won 17-8 against Colgate, so somewhat closer, but still having that midweek game before a weekend, tough matchup, how much that kind of messes with the week of practice and preparation for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the separation is in the preparation. So I just feel like if you get less time, it does have an effect on it. You know what I mean? It kind of does. I'm all for the more games, though, man. I mean, that's what they're there to do, right? Play games and have a good time. And but I agree. I think it makes a bit of a difference when you have only X amount of days compared to a longer time. So I think that, that comes into play for sure.
What do you think, Matt, on that prep? Short turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, I think what college, it's been a hot topic recently, what college lacrosse has kind of become is that football model where everybody's so accustomed to the 1 a week game. I think it matters. I would like to see teams play 2 a week if possible, just because you get to play more opponents and not so much pressure has to go into each of these games. And lacrosse is kind of a free-flowing game, but given the nature of it, if one team gets a week long to scout, that matters for how you get to layer in your scout, how you get to practice the film, how you get to practice the looks. I don't think a team like Notre Dame is going to let that drastically affect them. It also looks like this is a Sunday game, so you do get, if it's Tuesday, you do get that extra day. Not like they're playing on Wednesday with a Saturday game, which to me is very different. But minor. I would say at this point in the season, I don't think it's going to affect them all that much. I want to factor that into my decision.
Yeah, especially given what they did. I don't think it makes too much of a factor. I'm going Georgetown. I got to go Coach Warren. And I remember their first speech to us as a team, where first time they yelled at us, I guess. I don't know Emmett, if you remember that
No, I do.
speech. Oh yeah, remember exactly where it was, all of that stuff, and that Long Island accent, passionate Long Island accent from Coach Warren, and those pregame speeches were second to none. I gotta go Warren.
He's a character, man. I'm pretty sure I can say this now. After Maryland played Georgetown in the quarters last year, I was talking to Coach Phipps after the game, and he was like, "Man, that just sucks," because Coach Phipps coached with Coach Warren for all those years, right? Like they're all so tight. And he goes, "Oh man," he's like, "Coach Warren was messing with us all week." He's like, he was texting us like, "Hey, how are you guys going to slide to so-and-so?" And he's like, it just totally was messing with the coaches. And he's like, Coach Tillman he's so locked in. And here's Coach Warren like messing with him midweek, sending him text messages like, "Give me some game plan advice. How would you cover us?"
The funny is, I can picture him hitting send on that text, just looking up, laughing at the assistant coach's drivers. Like, I just said, tells a text here.
It's so
out.
great, but they were all like, "Oh, thank God it's over." But like Coach Phipps was just laughing afterwards, like, "Oh my God, Coach Warren was just driving us nuts all week." I'm picking Georgetown as well. I think their defense and their goalie are just so good, and I think that's going to end up being the difference. I think they're going to hold Notre Dame to a much lower score than we might expect. I mean, I'm 10, 11 goals for Notre Dame, if that. And so I do. I think Georgetown wins that game. We've been going on for a little more than an hour now. I want to thank Emmett and Matt for hopping in, and I apologize for Mike for putting you guys in an uncomfortable situation about picking games.
No, it's all good.
I think we should have told you guys ahead of time.
No worries.
No problem.
I'll send you Venmo requests for those bets.
Just don't clip me out saying I'm taking Carolina. That's all.
Yeah. Make sure there's a backstory to that part too.
Yeah.
That's what I said before that.
Thank God I have no idea how to do any of that, Matt. So you don't have to worry about me doing that to you. So
I'll know it's Mike if it happens.
Mike is more technically savvy than any of us. So
I just asked ChatGPT.
Yeah, fellas, thank you. I mean, dude, I'm honored to be on this. I really appreciate being a part of this. It was so fun catching up with Dunner, Shields, you guys. This was super fun, man. I appreciate this. I love being a Terp every day, man. I'm super pumped for this team. Spanos, love that guy. I think he's going to have an amazing year. I'm pumped for that attack. That those transfers are studs, man. The whole defense. I'm really stoked for Larkin and Rupel. I got all the confidence in the world in these guys, man. I'm pumped to come watch you play. I hope you guys are listening. Just enjoy this time, man. You guys have a special crew. You guys are studs, and enjoy this time together. And be the best, man. Do what you can and go bring it home for us. All right.
Well, Emmett, I'll be out in Southern California next November for the Maryland USC football game. I expect to see you up in LA.
I'll be there, brother. You let me know, man. We'll pick out some good bars that hit. We can enjoy some cold ones.
Nice. Matt, wonderful to meet you, man. Wonderful to meet you, Emmett. Thanks, guys, for coming in. And we'll be back next week with episode 3. Well, I think we're going to have a player on next week. So thanks, everyone, for joining in.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for having us on.